Hello and welcome to week 2 of the Beachcombing Blanket crochet along. I'm Eleonora, the designer behind Coastal Crochet, and all the details about this blanket can be found over on my blog, Coastal Crochet, and the links are in the description below. So this is a tutorial to accompany the written pattern for week 2 of the crochet along, and this is a square which is inspired by shells and fossils and ammonites and all the beautiful natural creatures and things that we can find on the beach. Remember, I use UK crochet terminology. The pattern is available in US terms and I will try to translate as we go along. And it's a good idea to have the written pattern next to you, and I'll show you how to get started. So if you look at the pattern, it says using yarn B, make 4 chain, and this is what you can see here. And then we slip stitch into the first chain to join into a ring. So start forming a ring and then insert your hook into the first chain that we made, going under both strands. And by going under both strands gives us the best chance to form a nice neat ring. And a slip stitch, yarn over and pull through everything on the hook. And there we have a nice ring. And if you look at round 1, it tells us to make 2 chain. And this counts as the first half treble or US half double crochet stitch of this next round. And we simply make 7 half treble or US half double crochet into the centre of the ring. So you can see the centre of the ring, that's where we'll be inserting our hook. And it's a good idea to encase this back yarn around your stitches as you go, because you can pull that tight at the end to make it really neat. And a half treble, half double crochet in US, is simply where you wrap your yarn over the hook, insert your hook into the ring, yarn over, pull through to the front, so you've got 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and that is 1 half treble US half double crochet stitch. So that's 1. We'll do it again, and remember I'm encasing this yarn at the back so we can pull it tight at the end, make it really neat. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And by encasing that yarn at the back, if we pull that tight, it will now close the ring nice and tightly like you see. So you've got a really nice tight circle, and that's the yarn that we pulled tight at the back there. So that's the end of round 1. We don't make a slip stitch or anything, we go straight on to round 2. So before we go on to round 2, it's a really good idea to put a stitch marker in the top of the final stitch from round 1. And this is because we're not closing off the rounds with a slip stitch, so it's sometimes when you're working in a spiral, it's really easy to lose track and forget which is the first or last stitch of each round. So pop a stitch marker into the top of that final stitch that we did in round 1, and then you'll know exactly where the end of round 2 should be. So let's go on to round 2. So we're continuing with half treble US half double crochet stitches, and you can see here is the beginning 2 chain that we made at the start of round 1, and that counted as our first half treble stitch. And if you look at the instruction, it tells us to do 2 half treble into the back loop only of that top chain from that 2 chain. So you can see there's the first chain, here's the second, and it's just into this top loop strand only from that beginning chain. Just go under the 1 strand and work 2 half treble into there. So that's 1 and that's 2. So that's 2 half treble into the back loop only of the top chain of that first 2 chain. And now we're going to be going round into these half treble stitches, and half treble stitches are really unique in that they have 3 strands or loops. So you can see these 2 here, 1, 2, but if you look to the back of the work, half treble stitches also have this back loop or strand. And in round 2, that is where we're going to be crocheting into, because we want to keep these 2 strands to the front to create the spiral lovely shell effect. So if you look at the instructions, it says continue with 2 half treble or US half double crochet in the back loop only of the next 7 stitches. So yarn over hook, just go to that back loop towards the back of the work, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook, and repeat that because we're doing 2 into each back loop of the stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook into the same back loop, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, pull through 3. So we've done 2 half treble stitches into the back loop of that stitch, and you can see it leaves these 2 strands to the front of the work, and that will really become apparent as we continue. So 2 half treble into the back loop only of the next stitch. So look, there's the 2 front strands, and it's the strand to the back of the work that we're going under. Insert your hook under that 1 strand, yarn over hook, pull through to the front, yarn over hook, pull through 3, and repeat that into the same loop because we're doing 2 half treble, 2 US half double crochet into each stitch. And you can see now how the front strands, keeping them to the front of the work, is really accentuating that spiral. So continue round the next stitch, there's the back loop, and work 2 half treble in each of the back loops of each stitch going round to the end. So I'm just coming to the end of the round, and you can see I'm now back at that stitch where I put the stitch marker into, and so that is the final stitch of the round. So sometimes, it's easy to lose count. By using that stitch marker, we now know that's the last stitch of the round, and we need to crochet into that stitch. So if you look at the back, there is the back loop of that stitch. So we're going to do the 2 half treble US half double crochet into the back loop of that stitch, the final stitch of round 2. 1 and 2. And now we move that stitch marker up. So remove the stitch marker from the stitch in round 1, and then we place it into the top of the stitch we've just done, because we know that's the last stitch of round 2, and that will help keep our place. So if you look at what we've done, this is what it should now be looking like. And just by crocheting into the back loops only, we are leaving this spiral to the front of the work, which really, it just creates the ammonite shell shape. So that's the end of round 2. And now we move on to round 3, and it says 2 treble. So now we're doing taller stitches. So treble are US double crochet stitches. 2 treble in the back loop only of the next 9 stitches. So again, we've got these half treble stitches that we created in round 2. If you have a look at the next stitch, so the next stitch to go into would be this one here. Have a look, and at the back there you have the strand to go into. So we're going into that back loop only with a treble stitch, US double crochet, where you wrap your yarn over the hook first, insert your hook into the stitch or the back loop of this stitch, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're doing 2 of these into the back loop of each of the next 9 stitches. If we look back from that start of the round, I have worked 2 treble US double crochet in the back loop of each of the next 9 stitches from the beginning of the round. And if we look now, it says 2 double treble, that's a US treble stitch, in the back loop of the next 5 stitches. So double treble, US treble, is where we wrap the yarn over the hook twice. We're continuing by going into the back loops only of each stitch. So it's 2 double treble, US treble, in each of the next 5 stitches. So that's 1, so a double treble, you wrap your yarn over the hook twice, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull through to the front, you have 4 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's 2 double treble in the back loop of that stitch. And then we continue 2 double treble, US treble, in the back loop of the next stitch. The nice tall stitches. And there you can see I've worked in 2 stitches. There's 3 more to do. So I've got 2 more double treble to do. This is the fifth stitch of this run. So there is the back loop. And that's 1 stitch. And if you look at the instructions, it tells us to join with yarn A at the last stage of the final double treble. So where it says 2 double treble or US treble in the back loop of the next 5 stitches, joining with yarn A at the last stage of the final double treble, this is the final double treble of that run. So go to work the stitch as normal, yarn over the hook twice, insert your hook into that back loop, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now this would be the final yarn over to complete the stitch, and this is where we are now joining with yarn A. So yarn over with yarn A and pull through, and that's how we change colour neatly. And we continue now with yarn A, and if you look at the instructions, it says continue with 2 double treble in the back loop of the next stitch. So let's continue with yarn A. There is the next stitch along is here, and there's the back loop. So 2 double treble into there. 1 and then 2, and then it says 1 treble in back loop of next stitch, and that next stitch is actually our final stitch of the round. And a treble is a US double crochet. We're just wrapping the yarn around the hook once. There's the back loop of this stitch, and we're just working 1 treble into that stitch, and that's the end of round 3. And rather than do one very long tutorial to cover the entire square, I've broken it down into shorter tutorials, shorter videos to cover the different rounds. So rounds 1 to 3 are in the first tutorial, and then I've done shorter segments for the subsequent rounds, which I hope you will find useful. Thank you so much for watching.